What happens when a woman refuses control? What if I told you the world didn't destroy Brigitte Bardot? It used her, then punished her for refusing to stay useful. She wasn't cancelled. She wasn't forgotten. She walked away, and that's the part history never forgave. This is not a story about beauty. This is a story about what happens when a woman refuses to belong to the world that desires her. In the 1950s, women in cinema were allowed only one kind of power, the kind that behaved. Then Brigitte Bardot appeared. Barefoot, uncontrolled, unapologetic. When In God Created Woman released, it didn't shock audiences because of nudity. It shocked them because she didn't apologize for desire. She wasn't seductive. She was self-possessed. Society has never known what to do with women like that, so it turned her into a fantasy, because fantasies are easier to control than real women. The price of being seen. Fame didn't crown her. It caged her. She became the most photographed woman on earth. Watched, followed, consumed. Every relationship dissected. Every emotion turned into entertainment. And behind the myth? Anxiety, depression, multiple suicide attempts. But no one wanted the truth, because suffering ruins desire. So she smiled and disappeared inside herself. The unthinkable decision, at the height of her power, when the world was still begging to look at her, she quit. No farewell film, no dramatic goodbye, no explanation. She simply left. And suddenly the narrative collapsed. Because when a woman walks away from what benefits others, she's no longer inspiring. She's dangerous. Rebirth and backlash. She returned to public life, but not as an icon. She returned as a voice, an animal rights activist, relentless, angry, unfiltered. And this is where the love turned cold. The world that worshipped her body now policed her words. Why? Because rebellion is tolerated only when it's beautiful. But conviction? That makes people uncomfortable. So they reframed her, from symbol to problem. The controversy. Brigitte Bardot has said things that offend. She refuses to soften her tone. She refuses to retreat. People ask, how can someone so liberating be so polarizing? But maybe that's the lie we were sold. That freedom comes with politeness. That truth must be gentle to be valid. Bardot never promised comfort. She promised honesty. And honesty, especially from women, has always been punished. Final conclusion. Brigitte Bardot is not a heroine. She is not a villain. She is a mirror showing how quickly admiration turns into control, how society celebrates women, only as long as they remain manageable. She proved one brutal truth. A woman will be adored for her beauty, forgiven for her mystery. But the moment she claims her voice, she becomes inconvenient. And yet, she never begged to be understood. She chose solitude over applause, conviction over comfort, freedom over legacy. Brigitte Bardot didn't fade away. She escaped. And maybe that's the most radical ending of all. Brigitte Bardot. There is a lesson Brigitte Bardot teaches that no success book ever will, because it is not about how to win the world, but about how to survive it without losing yourself. She shows us something devastatingly honest, that being loved by millions does not mean being seen, that being desired does not mean being valued, and that applause can be the loneliest sound on earth. Bardot reached the peak most people spend their entire lives chasing. Fame, beauty, power, immortality in images. And from that height, she looked down and realized something terrifying. None of it belonged to her. Her body became public property. Her face became currency. Her emotions became headlines. And slowly, invisibly, her inner life was erased. Here is the truth we avoid saying out loud. The world does not love you for who you are. It loves you for what it can take from you. And when you give too much, your time, your softness, your silence, your sanity, the world does not stop. It asks for more. Brigitte Bardot broke not because she was weak, but because she was overexposed to a world that never stopped consuming her. She teaches us that burnout isn't laziness, depression isn't ingratitude, wanting to disappear isn't failure. Sometimes it's the soul screaming, "I can't live like this anymore." And then she did something almost no one dares to do. She chose herself. Not gently, not gracefully, but decisively. She walked away from everything that validated her existence in the eyes of others, and faced the terrifying silence of becoming no one again. Do you understand how brave that is? Most people stay in lives that are killing them because at least they are admired there. At least they are known. At least they are useful. Bardot chose obscurity over self-betrayal. And yes, she became controversial. Yes, she became misunderstood. Yes, she lost love, approval, and favor. But she kept something rarer than legacy. Her life asks us a painful question we avoid answering. If the world loves you only when you are small, silent, beautiful, and agreeable, is that love worth keeping? She reminds us that peace often looks like loss from the outside, that solitude can be the cost of truth, and that freedom is rarely applauded when it first appears. The most heartbreaking part? The world never forgave her for leaving. Because society can accept a woman who is destroyed by fame, but not one who escapes it. So if you are tired, if you feel watched but unseen, if you feel successful but hollow, if your life looks perfect but feels unbearable, her story whispers something sacred to you. You are allowed to step away. You are allowed to disappoint. You are allowed to choose a smaller life if it is truer. You do not owe the world your exhaustion. You do not owe it your silence. You do not owe it your soul. Brigitte Bardot's greatest legacy is not beauty, rebellion, or controversy. It is this quiet, devastating truth. A life that costs you yourself is too expensive, no matter how glamorous it looks. And sometimes, the bravest thing you will ever do is walk away from the version of yourself that the world applauds to save the one that still knows how to breathe.